What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Canadian Football Fantasy Fix. I'm Ryan Coop here with your Week 6 CFL Fantasy Recap. Crazy, we're already through 6 weeks of the CFL season. A lot of great rematches this week, a lot of good games, and some great CFL Fantasy performances along the way. Let's take a look back at them all, the good, the bad, the ugly, and let's start off with the quarterback position. And take a look at the quarterbacks for this week. 3 quarterbacks got you their full value, over 2.5 points per $1,000. Michael Riley in BC led the way with an explosive performance, 29.5 points against the Red Blacks. Sean McGuire picking up the hat trick, the backup quarterback for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, picking up the hat trick of 1-yard touchdown sneaks. Definitely taking some points away from the likes of Zach Collaros, Andrew Harris, etc. And if you, for whatever reason, decide to put McGuire in your lineup, you got well worth your money for it. Zach Collaros didn't quite hit full value, puts up 19.1 points for the third best score of the week. And then Dominic Davis, despite all of his struggles and some questionable throws, still manages to put up over 300 yards. And 17.3 points on the day, meaning if you took Dom Davis, you got the value you needed at the quarterback position. Other performances at QB, Nick Arbuckle, 16.3 points, not a bad day for him. A strong start to the game, but he trailed off a bit in the second half. Bo Levi Mitchell's first game back from injury, started slow, had a decent second half, puts up 14.1 points. Dane Evans, 12.9. Ticats offense stalling a little bit, and then Evans going down with an injury that will have him out for 4 to 6 weeks. So, unfortunate circumstances there with Dane Evans. If you took Cody Fajardo, he also left the game due to injury and was in concussion protocol. He put up just 8.5 points before leaving. Disappointing day for Trevor Harris, just 7.3 points from him as the lowest starting quarterback after putting up the massive 33-point performance the week before. Jake Mayer gets a QB sneak in for 6.6. Isaac Harker steps in for Fajardo, puts up 5 points, and David Watford stepping in for Dane Evans, put up 3.1. Looking at the running back side of things, likewise, 3 running backs led the way and put up full value for you. That would help you get to a 100-point week. Not really a running back, but he's listed as one in CFL Fantasy. He dresses at wide receiver for the Red Blacks. He got in for his first or second game of the year finally. Anthony Coombs putting up a big 16.2 point performance. He was one of the most targeted receivers in that offense. DJ Foster, backup running back for the Argos, also led the way at receiver for them. So a couple running backs listed in CFL Fantasy being used more as receivers this week. Third straight week for Foster, putting up over what you needed to get full value from him. William Powell, a good bounce back day, 15.1 points. I believe that's his best total of the season. But still didn't get you quite the full value you needed. Timothy Flanders, back from injury, gets involved a little in the passing game, a little in the rushing game. 13.7 points for Flanders as well. So 2 Ottawa running backs, air quotes running backs, getting you the value you needed this week. Sean Thomas Erlington puts up 11.8. John White, 9.8 points for him. Again, he splits that time with DJ Foster. For some high-priced running backs, perhaps a bit of a disappointing day. Just 9.7 from Andrew Harris, 9.4 from James Wilder Jr. 2 running backs you expect to be able to put close to that 20-point mark up every single week. Shaq Cooper has still not really gotten going in BC. He has 8.4. He hasn't hit his stride and put up a game over 10 yet. Jamal Morrow, return guy for the Riders, puts up 5.7 off a couple nice kick returns. Kadeem Carey, probably the biggest disappointment of the week. His salary rose to over $8,000 after a couple great weeks in a row, and he put up just 4.5 points against that Elks defense. And then Chris Rainey with 4.2. Backup running back for the Elks, Walter Fletcher with 3.8, and Brady Oliveira getting in a couple late game carries for the Bombers with 1.2. Taking a look at the wide receivers, A number of wide receivers got you the full value this week. It's not too often the high price guys hit that for you. I find a lot of times the higher priced receivers are overpriced for the realistic expectation for them, but a couple of them really delivered this week, and it starts with Kamar Jordan, who put up 33.9 points, a massive day for Jordan, the most targeted receiver, the most connected targets, I should say, in that Stampeders offense this week. And, he had like 11 catches for 108 yards coming into the final minute of the game. Calgary's leading quite a bit. You think, okay, that's a solid day. And then, Calgary tried to go for the tiebreaker in point differential. Bo Levi Mitchell hucks at 50 yards for a touchdown yet for Jordan to put extra points up on the board. So you're happy if you took him. You're also really happy if you took Ryan Davis in Ottawa this week. He got involved in the passing game. He got involved in the return game. At just $2,500, he put up 26.9 points for you. Never mind trying to hit 2.5 points per $1,000 you spend. You got over 10 if you took Ryan Davis. Brian Burnham, 24.2 points. Great week for him, but he's so high priced that was still not worth the full value. Lucky Whitehead and Kenny Lawler, two of the biggest name receivers that did hit their values, just barely for both of them, I believe. 22.7 points for Whitehead, including a massive field goal return that was quite the sight to see. Kenny Lawler, a great, beautiful touchdown catch and a big day for him. Nick Dembski, the leading receiver for the Bombers, had over 100 yards, a couple big plays, put up 18.4. Javon Katoya, a solid day at around a $4,000 salary, puts up 16.9 points. Poppy White from the Ticats, this time he's the young Ticats receiver with the big game. He puts up 16.3 points for them. He also has a touchdown. Keon Schaefer-Baker, seemingly the go-to receiver for a Riders offense. He got a solid number of catches and picked up a solid yardage along the way. And then getting into a couple guys that didn't quite hit their value but still had decent days. Ricky Collins Jr. at 14. Darvin Adams at 13.9. Josh Huff, for the first time in a couple weeks, not really hitting his value. He puts up just 11.6, but that's still a decent day when you're not hitting your value to get that from Huff in that $5,000 to $6,000 range. Keon Hatcher making his first start for the Lions due to Dominic Rhymes and Lamar Durant being out due to injury. 11.5 points from him. You got full value there. Kyron Moore, after having 15 targets the week before against the Bombers, he dropped to, I think, just 9 this week. Didn't put up the full value for his price point. 11.4 points for Moore. Nate Bahar hit the target again this week. 11.1 points for him. As a value play, you got what you needed. Markeith Ambles, something ridiculous, like 17 targets this week, but barely connected. Only connected on a couple of them. A couple drops, a couple overthrows from Bo Levi Mitchell. He's going in Ambles' direction, but they just did not connect enough. 10.5 points is what you got from him. Shaq Johnson hitting full value finally one game this year. 9.8 points for him. Jalen Acklin, a bit of a disappointment, not getting you around the 14 points you needed for full value. He puts up just 9.8. Taking a look at some of the other receivers here. Eric Rogers from the Argos, 9.6 points. Again, doesn't get a whole ton of targets his way. Seems to be touchdown dependent and did not get one this week, I believe. Tim White from the Ticats, not quite as big of a game as the week before, but he still puts up strong value, 9.5 points at a $2,500 salary for the third straight week, I believe. Darrell Walker puts up 9.3 for the Elks. David Unger, the third, getting his second straight week of hitting the total you need at 7.9. Braden Lenius, 7.7. He barely gets you to the value point. Disappointing day for RJ Harris. Daniel Peterman, not a bad day for him, but his salary rose to over $4,000, so you didn't get the value from him. Stephen Dunbar Jr. hitting just barely the full value at 6.8 points. Ernest Edwards got close at 6.1. Jalen Tolliver as well, close at 6 points. Both those were $2,500 salaries as well. Drew Wolotarski hovering around what we see from him pretty frequently in a 5.3. Greg Ellingson, another disappointing day. One of the biggest disappointments of the week. If you're spending $8,000 to $9,000 on Greg Ellingson, you need more than 5 points. You did not get that from him this week. Chandler Worthy stepping into his first game with the Argos this year. 5 points from him. He got involved in the return game and the passing game. Curley Gittins Jr., 4.8. A couple catches his way. Shai Ross sliding back in as a starting receiver. Again, not a great day for a lot of Elks receivers. 4.4 points for him. A couple middle-priced options. Tavares Daniels, Rasheed Bailey not getting enough targets their way to make an impact. And Calgary, Nick Hawley stepping in as the kick returner with Malik Henry out, puts up 3.7. And to round it out, Mitchell Picton, 3.6 points. He didn't hit the value this week. He comes close a lot of times, but did not this time around. Ricardo Lewis, 3.5 points. Hergy Mayala still struggling, just 3 points, and finds himself at the bottom of the charts once again. Tavon Smith of the Elks, you pay $6,000 for him. You never get the value you need, just 2.7 points for him. And Bombers kick returner Charles Nelson, once again, not getting anything done. Looking at the defenses, 2 defenses got you full value this week. It was the BC Lions coming in at $3,200. And putting you up a 17-point week. I believe they came in at 3,200, or they were close to that. And the Calgary Stampeders defense finally waking up for the first time this year. Hello, where were they? Putting up 7 sacks on the Elks, en route to putting up 12 points. A good day for them. The Bombers putting up a steady 10 points against the Riders. Winnipeg putting up over 10 in almost every game this year. Edmonton putting up 8 points. They got a pick 6 in there and finally had one of their best days of the year. The Argos putting up 7 points on the Ticats. The Ticats, a bit of a step back from the previous couple weeks, put up 5 points. And Saskatchewan and Ottawa's defenses dropping goose eggs this week. So, you got decent value with almost any defense you picked, unless you went with the Riders and the Red Blacks. You got close to, if not hitting the full value this week, and there were certainly some big defensive performances. So those are the overall performances for this week of CFL Fantasy. What did my lineup look like? Well, I rolled with the following lineup. It was a tough week. I was trying to set it. I went through many different options over and over and over again, and finally settled on this without being too fully confident in the lineup I chose, because I think there were a lot of great value plays this week. But this is what I went with. I put up 90.5 points, so very close to that 100 mark, but did not quite get there. But nonetheless, a solid week. I ended up rolling with Dominic Davis at quarterback. I took a look at some of the higher-priced options. Some of them were tempting, but I like going with the cheaper quarterback because you really don't need a ton of points to get you that value. And he put up the 333 yards and the touchdown, got a couple carries that did get me full value out of Dominic Davis. And I went with the interesting strategy this week of picking the defense that's playing my quarterback. A quarterback throws an interception, that's minus 2 points. A defense gets an interception, that's 2 points. So they cancel each other out. So I thought maybe that was a bit of a risk, but I wanted to see how that worked out. And it worked out very well because Davis and the Lions defense both putting up over 17 points and hitting their full value this week. And the logic I had there was Davis can throw for a lot of yards. He can throw the touchdowns. He can run the ball. The one knock on him is the interceptions. If I take the Lions defense, that neutralizes those negative points there. And that seemed to work out well this week. So I'll have to monitor that as the season goes along. A couple disappointments, so to say, at running back. James Wilder Jr., Shaq Cooper not putting up over 10 points, which I was hoping for. Wilder, one of my bigger disappointments of the week. Josh Huff didn't quite hit his value, puts up 11.6. Jalen Acklin, this is the third or fourth time I've put him in my lineup expecting another big game, and we just haven't quite gotten it. May move him into stay away category for me this coming week. He puts up 9.8, still a decent, but not the 14 points I needed from him. And Javon Catoy, one of my best value plays of the week. Saw him in that starting lineup, knew he was going to be probably the number 3 receiver behind Burnham and Whitehead, and I put Katoy in my lineup, and it paid off nicely with 16.9 points. So that's your week 6 recap. We say goodbye to week number 6, and we start looking ahead to week number 7. I'll have your previews at every position this week: quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and defense. I'll also have depth chart updates out on Friday as well. Stay tuned the next couple of days. The quarterback and running back may be out on Tuesday already. If not, they'll be out Wednesday. And the wide receiver and defense should be out on Thursday. Do all the YouTube things: like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you liked, what you didn't. If you have any fantasy questions, if you want to tell me how your week went or how your lineup did, I love to hear it. Put it in the comments section. Tweet it at me at CooperTrooper42. You can do that as well. And stay tuned for the Week 7 preview. As always, thanks for watching. Take care. Have a good one. Bye.